Alright guys, welcome back to Frugal Homestead. So today we wanted to bring you up to speed with what's going on with the tiny house. Now, we didn't make a November update because we didn't get as much done as we would liked. It really didn't qualify as a full video, so we're doing the November and December update all at once. Now, there's been some major changes. While I've been extremely busy getting stuff done up on the regular homestead, and not had as much time to work down here, and also dealt with some complications due to windstorms. We lost the antenna tower. If you didn't see that video, you should go check that out. But look at what has changed. I mean, there's an RV there. So one of our boys decided that he'd like to put an RV here so he could save some money. Said he could handle living in a smaller space. So I can't tell you guys how much of an adventure it was getting this thing from over at my dad's property back to here with no brakes, very little steering. The tires were all dry rotted. We didn't know if it would even roll. There was no motor and tranny in it, so you can't use, you know, throwing it in gear to stop it. And the e-brake was broken. So what we did was we went old school. We hooked a chain inside the motor compartment around the actual cradle where the motor mounts, ran it through a pipe like a tow bar as tight as possible and around my truck and pulled it over here. It was an adventure. My son was driving the thing. I thought he was gonna pee his pants. He literally got out and was shaking. Now, for some of us old school guys that have done things way worse than this, shout out to my wife who actually passed me when I was pulling her with an S10 with no brakes. We kind of are used to that kind of stuff. Pulling a vehicle with a chain is no big deal. But on this property, if you go over a bank, you're done. I mean, it's not coming back out. You got a 200-foot drop to the bottom of the right-of-way. But we got it over here, got through it. It was an adventure. But then we got it over here, the real fun started. So what we had to do next is, part of the deal for this RV was the dually rear end had to come out. So we had to go under there, basically cut everything out. It was a total nightmare. Then we jacked the whole back up and realized it wasn't gonna come out the back. So we actually had to jack it up way high and pull it out the side by taking the tires off and using my truck to pull it out. Now that's out, gone and done with. We actually started blocking it up. So as you can see, we've got some pads and just put some cinder blocks under it, all along through there underneath. Now the blocking's not set. What's gonna happen is we're letting it sink. We're in a very rainy time of year. It freezes and thaws, so everything is settling. We'll let it settle. The bottle jacks are still here. We'll jack it up and level it off later. But the other thing I've been busy with is I put a roof on it. Now the roof that's on RVs, you guys know how hard they are to maintain and keep. Basically, I just framed a roof over it, put the material that we had brought back from the Ask dealership in Lancaster, which is like crating material, and I created a rooftop for it. All right, and then I put basic, regular old pole barn metal on top. And then we're still gonna do the tie-ins to roll the water away from the sides. But for a cheap, fast roof, you really can't beat it. So the next update is we got all the metal on. So it's pretty much boxed in. The back is not that pretty, as we were just using scraps at the end. But as you can see, all the way around, the metal is installed. Now I just want to say something about this metal. I am not too worried about the looks, as from a distance it's going to look good. I still got to get all my cornering trim on. I've got the very wide cornering trim that I got given to me basically for free, and we got a lot of screwing off still to do. But considering I probably have less than $2,000 in all the metal, including what we put on the RV, I'm not complaining. I'm not that worried about the visual look of things to warrant complaining about that price point. Now, the one thing I want to say about it is I hand cut pretty much all of it other than using nibblers to do the long hand cuts. I like that better than using saws and stuff that make noise, but if I was going to be doing this more consistently, I'd buy a set of shears. So our next evolution was we put the windows in. So there's one there and one up there. Now that one I had hoped to put up in the peak, but that is actually ground level on the second floor. And what we'll do is we'll pull the top part down to put an air conditioner in that. But when we realized this window was too tall to put up in the truss, which is actually like head height in the room, we put it there because my dog Apollo absolutely loves to look out the window. He actually knocked our Christmas tree over this year trying to look out the window. So that gives him somewhere to lay down and look out the window over in the neighbor's field, and that'll kind of keep him busy. It kind of is going to look weird when the whole thing's done because you're like, why do you have a window by your floor? But it's just where it fit. These windows were actually given to me by my dad about a year ago, so we don't complain. We don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Now we also put a window up in the front of the gable here, but that window is a crank out window. Now that's a good thing and a bad thing. You can't really put a window air conditioner in it. It's not good if it's open during a storm because it's definitely coming in. But once again, that was a display model that my dad gave us, and that's probably about a $150 window. I mean, it's got the interior screen with it and everything. So to get that for free, you don't complain, you just put it in. Now I'm sure some of you are saying, why didn't you put more windows in? Well, the thing about living in a tiny house is you put windows in, you're blocking off space. Now on our upstairs up there, if you put windows in, the sides, the ceiling, like 4 foot up the wall, goes like this with the roof. So to put more windows in, they're going to be low. The second part is that other areas here are for storage, and I don't want people being able to see in, if that makes sense. We do live back a very rural road. Not a lot of people know it's back here, but still, you're gonna have your stuff in there. You don't want people just being able to walk up and look inside and see what you have. Adding window adds cost. We could have come up with some more windows, but then there's more cost to cut them in, to J them, to do all the things you have to do. But also it takes away wall space, especially downstairs where it's majorly at a premium because you're trying to stick a kitchen in there and put cabinets up, and you're trying to stick a bathroom in there and put a shower in. This is a tiny house, guys. We need as much square footage as possible. It will turn around that I'll have to wire in more lights, but it's a small payoff versus trying to put in more windows, trim them, and do all the other stuff. Now, if I had it to do over again, I probably would add 1 or 2 more. But I'm pretty happy with where it is now. So as we walk in now, you can clearly see how much darker it is in here. I mean, it's much darker. And as you can see, there's the window. There's the window there. Now that one is propped open there because it needs shimmed. And it's funny because the post next to it makes the window look crooked in the framing, but when in fact the wall is crooked because, hey, this was an old bent over carport we straightened. But let's talk about the new additions. One, I started making these custom stairs, and the design doesn't make it look like it makes sense, but the top of that step is just going to be a door. That's all going to be walled off. This will also be walled off, which you guys haven't seen this before. This was an addition to give us more second floor room, which is why the steps ended up like this. But if you look at this and you look at the door, you can't go that way. So what we're doing here is this is going to be a turnstile stair, and it's going to come down right here. So Most people would say that's not the most efficient way to use space, and I would agree. But the concept here is, if we ever want to pin this in above, the stairs won't have to be moved. So we have the ability to add more space at ease without losing room by moving the staircase. So now that we're up on the second floor, you can see how the window's down by the bottom, like I said. Now my dad was over here and he said, "Why didn't you put it there?" And I said, "It doesn't fit." And he said, "I think you'll regret not putting something up there." But here's the problem. Every time I put a window up about head height, and then I go to mount a TV on the wall, my wife always complains about glare. She absolutely is one of the people that just, if the TV's got some light glare on it, it bugs her. I actually went as far as to put a swiveling mount on our living room TV so I can move it a little bit so she doesn't have to have that. But I just came to the realization that if we're gonna be sitting here and either the TV's gonna be on this wall, then there would always be glare, always. If it's on this wall, which I'd have to put a window on one side and TV on the other, then it's gonna kind of throw off the symmetry of the top of that. So I just said, forget it, I'll put the window down here. We can still put the air conditioner in the top part, which will get it high enough in the room to do its job. But this gives us this whole wall. We can do a mantelpiece. We can do the TV above it. It'll be fine. I know it looks a little out of place. But this addition we added here, you're talking about an extra probably 70 square feet, which in a tiny house is a big deal. It really is. So yes, you have the roof to contend with. But whether it's storage, like a pantry, or whether it gets turned into a micro bedroom where it's just a bed, I think that this is going to be a real big addition to this. And as I said, we have the option to add another area here if we so choose to. But I don't want to get overbuilt yet. I'm trying to just finish what we're working on now. And yes, my wife did mention that would make a great little, just basically throw a bed in there for a bedroom, and then downstairs rework the floor plan. So as with everything when you're building a tiny house without actual blueprints, this is what you get. You get adaptation to make it best for what you're doing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because it gives you the freedom to change what you want to optimize it, because you never think of everything when you're blueprinting, I promise you. I feel like there's a lot of potential here. I still have to get the electric in, get the trim in, get the door on, just to get it basic winterized. And then I would start doing the softening, the fascia, call the guys out to do the gutters, because I'm not doing them. And that would just be the basic core concept of what I want to get done between now and like just after the first of the year. Those are my goals. And then beyond that, we'll start getting into finishing the interior, which I think is going to be kind of fun in a way. I mean, it just depends on whether you like doing interior finishing or not. I don't necessarily like doing the finishing, but I like the fact that it looks nice and you start to come together and it starts to feel livable. Now, it seems like it's easy this time of year between the weather holding you up, and bad things tend to happen in the winter. Cars break down, or maybe work slows down, or financial troubles, or for us, high wind storms blew over our antenna tower. Well, that same storm destroyed a candle factory, put a lot of people on hold for making any money at their jobs, killed a bunch of people. I have to sit back and really realize that I need to be grateful for what I have and the ability and the steps that are going forward and the people I have in my life that support some of the crazy things I do. And this channel has been getting a lot of support lately, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate all of you guys watching, because you guys really do help motivate us to keep moving forward and powering through even when things don't go right. So definitely want to tell you guys we appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate it so much when we get into conversations, be it good or bad, in the comments below. You know, at times, some of the things I do are stupid, and I fully admit it. But, you know, a little bit of hazing and roasting in the comments never hurt anybody. But with that said, if you haven't already, and I don't know why you wouldn't have, go down, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can see all of our upcoming videos. Make sure you give us a like, go down and comment, let us know what you think of the build. Anything that you can think of that might optimize the build, feel free to share them down in the comments. Spitball ideas back and forth. Trust me, my wife will read them and make me look at them to see if it's gonna make it better. And if I'm gonna make changes, I'd kinda rather do it now than later. But I've gotta get going here. I'm gonna go mount the electric box and get started, and then listen to my wife yell at me for doing it without her here to watch me when she gets home. So I will see you guys in the next one.